Sega is such a weird fucking company. I can never really understand why they always find a way to make these weird ass games and still make some money. Even though Sonic keeps using up all of their funding, they seem to be able to find enough just so that they can make these weird Like a Dragon games. And it's so funny because I don't know if this is actually a successful business model or not. Regardless of funding and how they're getting their sales, these games are actually super interesting and really fun. Like a Dragon, called Yakuza in America early on, is best described as a series of video games related to the Japanese crime families, known as the Yakuza. In these games, you play as a variety of different characters, mostly centered around this one man from a famous clan known as the Tojo, named Kazuma Kiryu. A man so strong, physically and mentally, that he is feared and revered on the streets of Kamurocho as the Dragon of Dojo. Ooh, very cool title. Unfortunately for us in this review, we're not talking about this guy. We're talking about a detective named Yagami Takayuki. In this game, Yagami does actually start out as a lawyer. He plays a role in a major murder case that happens over the course of 3 years. This character ends up failing to protect his client, giving up tackling the law in the traditional sense, and becomes the detective that you play as in the game. Said murder case becomes a major problem later on in the narrative. An attack is done on a big player in the Matsugane clan and ends up becoming frontline news for crimes going on in Kamurocho. Yagami, with all of his detective work and law practice knowledge, is going to use the evidence that he can find in these murder cases, piecing the true story together, not only to exonerate the people who were originally blamed, but to also expose the seedy criminal underbelly that seeks to control the lives of everybody in this area. And what I really appreciated about this game is that it managed to use all of this and make sense. The biggest gripe I have ever had with my favorite type of storytelling is that when a mystery is presented in a non-functional way, it always becomes the biggest problem on how a narrative concludes itself. This story makes logical leaps. There's so many stupid things that I've seen detectives do in both literature and TV shows, as well as movies, that make absolutely no goddamn sense. And don't get me started on twist villains. Lord Jesus Christ, don't get me started. These things are always done so horribly in media that can't make a story have any logical sense for its mystery. A twist villain can literally just be a mirror image of the main character, and some people would just accept that as a canon way to end a story. And fortunately for me, for Judgment and Lost Judgment, I didn't see any of that. I could throw that shit in the garbage. Get rid of Nancy Drew. Put up Judgment. That's the best story I've ever seen for a mystery. It's honestly not, but it's pretty good. I know I said heavy spoilers before, but I don't think I can go through with that, especially since I know that the game is super good. All I'm going to tell you is 3 hints if you really want to figure out all the mysteries in the game very quickly. Dr. Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, an ace fucking attorney. Lost Judgment is very similar in this way. The game obviously has this narrative where it's building up to a crazy mystery, and I thought it was kind of slow. Trust me, it's super slow in Lost Judgment compared to the first one. But holy shit, after like chapter 5, they hit you with a fucking truck of information, and I can't believe that I sat there and thought, man, I might have to put down this game, because it was so much better in the gameplay department, and I was just like, all I need is that story to just pick up, and then they dropped the bomb on me, and I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it blows up every single thing that you thought you knew about the narrative, and there's no other way to describe it, because then you're just picking the pieces back up and you're just like, oh my god, this person isn't innocent. Oh my god, this person actually didn't do any crimes. Maybe there's more involvement in this than I initially realized. Do we know somebody who actually helped commit these crimes? I have no idea. Are we having an alibi here? Are we part of the crime? What the hell is happening? They even float the idea that the crime from the first game has something to do with all of this. This is nuts. This is crazy. Do you realize just how much narrative cohesion you need to have in your entire story if you're going to rope in a mystery that had a beginning, a conflict, and an end in a completely separate place and time than where this game takes place in, and it still makes sense? Do you know how good that is? Do you know how hard that is to come by? This game is really good when it tells its story, I have to admit. And if you can't get access to, or you just don't want to play Judgment 1, don't worry. This game is still a great experience even if you haven't played the first game. I'd advise you play the first game just so you know how to fight with Yagami, and also what this game is really all about. But have at it, Haas. You can play Lost Judgment first and then play Judgment. I won't stop you, but I think there's a certain order to these things, and there's a reason why they got released in the way that they did. Your standard gameplay fare in this game is going to be a 3D brawler. Think Shenmue, and if you've never played it, then don't think Shenmue. This game literally is all about using your legs and your fists to punch in some bad guy face. As far as weapons go, best I can do is lasting one fight. Yeah, Yagami is not exactly the one who wants to initiate the violence, and that's what you'll see in a lot of the beat-em-up Yakuza games. You don't usually start fights, you just finish them. Judgment 1, he has two fighting styles, the crane style and the tiger style. Using these and switching between them usually just allows you to mix and match your combos, keep yourself away from enemies, or deal with crowds, or focus in on one specific enemy on the board. They have their strengths and weaknesses, they're super effective, but basically using both red and blue, you can really create a crazy purple haze. Lost Judgment, however, has three fighting styles, and if you want to do the one and only DLC that has ever been done for this series, you get four. The same two styles from the first game, as well as the boxing style and the snake style. Snake style is super cool. When I was playing Lost Judgment, I had so much fun messing with characters using this ability. By pressing the left bumper on my controller every single time, these guys could not touch me. My ability to dodge these moves without taking any damage scared the ever-living shit out of them, and I proceeded to press the special button to scare them into passing out. Fantastic! I absolutely love the idea of my character being so absolutely intimidating that I just take down these grunt-level enemies with no hesitation, and I took no damage! Do you know how easy it was to get through this game on the hardest difficulty, knowing I couldn't take damage because I was too swift with that clean dodge button? My parrying is on point, bro. As far as environments go for this game's backdrop, this is one of the most impressive and beautiful landscapes I have ever seen. But guess what? It was actually built on the PS3.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
This game literally recycles a lot of the elements and aspects from the older titles of the Like a Dragon series. But that's not a bad thing. See, a lot of people have this misconception that when you reuse assets for a game, that makes the game less valuable and less interesting. Well, I got news for you, buddy. If you have a game that is on PC, Xbox, Switch, PS5, hell, even like Amazon Luna, whatever exclusives they got on there, everybody is reusing assets, whether it's from the games in the same series or maybe another game that was made by the same studio or the same company, maybe even just getting it from a wide public domain like the Unity engine, or possibly even objects from Gmod, or anything, any number of different things that are out there for other people to use so that you can build your games. This game is no exception, but it uses those assets extremely well. Nothing in this game is ugly, especially running on a PlayStation 5 like how I played it. This game is like butter. It is clean, it is smooth, it is beautiful. I love it. Something I feel I failed to iterate on in this review is the fact that these games have such interesting side characters and content. The side quests, especially the ones that you do for the NPCs in Kamurocho, are so fun and interesting that it really just compels me to want to help them. Few franchises can still do this for me. Not even Final Fantasy can keep up. Xenoblade, Zelda, Animal Crossing. This game, these titles have really introduced me to worlds of characters that I could not want to see the worst happen to. They have so much personality, so much life, and they bring so much entertainment to me as I'm playing these games. Seeing how they interact with Yagami, as well as just how interesting they make things for the player. It is something that I cannot rip myself away from. That's why I poured over 300 hours between these two games into the events. Like, not even the main quest is that long. And I sat there and tried to help these characters, tried to understand who they were, saw them go through arcs when Yagami had different detective work for them later on in the game. And just knowing that you play a huge role in how that ends up turning out is what compels me to love these games unconditionally. I've patted these games on the back enough, so now it's time for us to criticize it just a little bit. Some of the game, at least in Judgment, gets very repetitive. This is a game that actually had a lot less to offer when it came to the mini games than the previous titles in the Like a Dragon series. It also seems to struggle with this idea that, you know, maybe, just maybe, I don't want to have to complete all of Town Go just so that I can make sure I get to that last mission. I find that very stupid. They should have just let it be available regardless of what your status was. But you know what? That's how the games usually work. They have secrets, and if you really want those secrets, you're gonna have to earn them. I just don't know why I need to learn how to play shogi in order to get it. Lost Judgment kind of avoids those problems. I didn't have to play shogi once to advance the plot or anything that was remotely interesting about the game. And for that, I was super grateful. This game fixed a lot of the problems of the first one. So if you really want to just avoid them, again, like I said, I won't tell if you won't. You can play the second game and then play the first game next, but I find that you'll enjoy it a lot more if you play it in chronological order. To give a final score to Judgment and Lost Judgment, I have to say that these games impressed me so thoroughly with how much detail and intricacies, as well as how interesting they keep their story to a very fucking T. I have never been so enthralled by a games series like the Yakuza and like the Dragon franchise. And Judgment is no different. And for that, these games are going to receive a 9. This is one of those series where I think there is not a single bad game wherever you start, whatever you do. But I say, you should try Judgment. If anything, I love the fact that Yagami is this cool cat type of detective who plays himself out to be this cool guy and dresses like a rock star, but is actually a big softy and really likes to help out his community, especially stopping crime around his neighborhood. And I absolutely love the fact that he does all of this with the intelligence of somebody who graduated the bar and hands like the fighting style of Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star, which many people envy him for. But I'm telling you right now, these games are fun. Go try it. 2 green thumbs up. Definitely recommend this. Definitely recommend it.